Okay, go ahead.
Okay, welcome again, everyone. So the webinar will be about scheduled task and ghost task investigation. We will start talking about what are scheduled tasks. It's just a service in Windows that allows the users to perform a scheduled or automated tasks for administrative purposes. So for example, you can use it for system maintenance, like disk cleanup or defragmentation. You can use it for automatic update or batch for your system. You might also use it for running backup tasks, monitoring, or running a script or executable at a specific time. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how we can run.
Minimize it. Yep. Yeah.
How we can run or create a specific task. So I'm just going to open a command line. And what we can do is that we want to create a specific task. So using this command, we can use the scheduled task tool in Windows to create a new task. As you can see, we just type /create. And the schedule is when I want this task to be run. As you can see, minute. This means that this task will be running every minute. You can change this for once. So this means the task will be running once at your computer. Or you can say daily, which means it's going to be running daily in the computer. Then we have /tn, which stands for the task name. So my task name is Notepad1. And /tr is what this task is going to run. So this task is going to run notepad.exe. So this is just one way to create task, and there are, of course, different ways. So if I run this one, it succeeds that task has been successfully created in my system. Okay. Where we can see the information about scheduled task in Windows, if you just go to the Start button and search for scheduled task, as you can see, mine is already started, the Notepad. This is the task I just created. So we just want to check this to understand how the things work in Windows. If we understand the regular tasks that are running in my system, I'll be able to know and find if there is anything unusual happening in the system. So here in the task scheduler, what you can see that in task scheduler here, if you click here, you can see that we have different tasks created in the system. I just want to make sure is the screen shared.
Everyone can see the screen, right?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so as you can see here, we have Notepad1. This is the task I just created. So this is the task name, the status for it's running currently. And what triggered it, it was triggered at this time, and it will repeat every 1 minute. Next runtime is this one. This is the last runtime when it was last executed. The last run results, who's the author and the creation date for this task. If you double click on this task, we can see that we have more information about the task. We can see the username. We can see when the task will be triggered. So we can see that it's based, like, for example, when the user is logged into the system, either the user is logged into the system or not. We can also run it with higher privileges. We can see what triggers this task. So for us, the task was triggered by at this time, and every minute it will run. Sometimes a specific action will trigger this task. The last thing is the action. What this task will do, it will start a new program like notepad.exe. Other thing that you can also configure a task to send an email, display a message, etc. So there are different things that this task do. So if you are investigating a task scheduled in the system, this is the main location that we look in. So the task scheduler can show us a lot of information about it. And another location that we can see where are the tasks is where it is stored in Windows. So if you go to the C, Windows System 32.
You can take the keyboard near you.
and tasks. Here you can see a list of all the tasks that are in the system, or the tasks that we can that run using a scheduled task. And we can see here we have Notepad 1. This is the task that we just created. The good thing about this that all of these files are XML files and it's text-based, so we can just double-click and see their contents. If I double-click on this one, I can use Notepad. I don't have Notepad++, so I'll use regular Notepad. So we can see here the information. We can see the name of this task. We can see also the action for this task. For example, the action is to execute a specific command, which is notepad.exe, and we can see a lot of information regarding this task. So regularly, this is where we can see the information about a specific task. Now, where can I see also more information about the task? We can also check the Windows event logs, and it will contain information about this task, when it happened, and what the action was done. So what we can do, if you go to Windows event, let me just search for event. Through event viewer, we can see that many logs for Windows. So there are different locations that we are going to look for. One of them is the Windows log, and then we go to the security. So here we have different logs. we already cleared the logs here, so we can see like small number of logs. But if in your system, I'm sure you're gonna see like a lot of logs there. The one that we're looking for is 4698, which is this one. Again, it's for me very easy to find it because I already have a small number of logs. However, if you have large number of logs, what we can do is filter current log. So after we selected security, we just go to this option, filter current log. And in the event ID, I can just type 4698. So 4698 and click OK. This will give you only the events that associated with this event ID. So we can see here that this is the audit success when it started and the source of it. We can see the event ID. And we can see that we have all the information that we just also see there that we can see about this event. Another location where we can see the events is if we go to application, Microsoft, Windows. Here we can go and look for the task. And under task, we can see also more information about this event. So under task scheduler here, we can see that we have in the operational more tasks, events related to task scheduler. So one that we could look for is 106, which the one that tell us that a task was start. So I'm going to filter for that log. So 106, we just put this one. And you can see here the task that has been run. This is the username. This is the task name, Notepad 1. You can also see that we have more information and details about this task. Okay, so this is just to show you the tasks. And the way that we created the task was using the command line, because usually this is what will happen. It will be created in your system using a command line. However, you can also create a scheduled task here using the GUI. So through task scheduler, what we can do is right-click and create basic task. Let me just create task. That will give us more option. So here I can define the name. Let's call this CMD, for example, or cmd run, anything. So this is the name. This is the location where it will start, the username. When do you want this task to start? Do you want the user to be logged into the system? Do you want it to run when the system power on, regardless of the user logged in or not? Do you want it to run at specific event? Then what to trigger this task, we can select here new. And you can see here in the triggers that there are different things that could trigger the task. So this one says that it will be executed one time when it will start. This one can be done daily. So do you want to do it to execute this task daily? Do you want it to be executed weekly, monthly, etc.? You can specify what you want, and how many times do you want to repeat this task, for example. And let's say one time, and let's start it after, oh, not hour, I want it after a few minutes. So after a few minutes, we will see CMD pop up. And then we will have the actions. What do you want this task to do? So if you click on a new, you can see that we have different actions. As we said, we can either start a program, send an email, display a message. What do you want to do? We want to start a program, the program or the script. So cmd.exe will run cmd. If, for example, there is an executable in the system, the only thing you need to do is to put the full path for that executable. So, for example, if I have something in the downloads, you can just take the whole path to the download and copy it there inside tools. We need the whole path to that executable, and then we put the path inside here. If the executable needs argument or any options, we can add them here also. So this is the program. You can also check the setting and the conditions if there is anything else we want to do. And when I click OK, you can see that my CMD run is ready. Unlike the notepad is currently running, but this one hasn't been executed yet. So we need also to do an extra step for this one, which is run. Run will run this task. So this running, I already run this task. So it will not wait until the time comes. I already executed this task. You can see also here, if I right-click, I can end this task. I can disable it. I can export information, see properties, or delete this task. And this is what, like, if there's any action you want to do in the task, this is what we usually do. It's very good that you will be familiar with the task that you have here in the system. So we see OneDrive reporting, OneDrive update, for example, Microsoft Edge update. These are regular tasks that we can see usually in the system. So these are the tasks. And in the event viewer, by the way, let me just clear this filter. So clear filter will clear the filter that we just created for 106. There are different tasks created for any scheduled task you put in your system. So for example, let me check them. We have 204 tasks registered. We have also task started 100. We have also, and you can see that all the information about it. We can also have 201 or 202. For example, this is the action completed for that task. So the task that, or the events ID that you look for is 100, 101, 200, 201, 202, and 110. These are the events that you would be looking for if you are looking through the task cache operational in the event log.
By the way, question, Professor, what will happen if I go ahead on the scheduled task? So if we go back here, yep, and delete, let's say, Notepad 1. So if we say delete, yep, and delete it from here, will the file, so we know now it's removed from scheduled task here, is the file that is associated with it in the tasks directory also going to be removed?
Yes, so that's what we can see now. So
System 32.
Tasks. So as you can see, yeah, when we delete a task from here, it will also be deleted from the files here.
Will be deleted. So one other check, by the way, because we want to kind of like learn a lot about this, is if I had this as a forensic image, and if I load this system in FTK Imager, can we do that first and go to Windows System 32 tasks? So open FTK Imager.
So what we can do, we can add the C drive.
Yep, exactly.
I'll run it as administrator. And what we need to do is go to File, Add Evidence Item. This is a logical drive currently because I'm already in the system. It's my C drive.
Great.
So under C, root is the C drive. So root or C Windows System 32.
Seems they fixed that, by the way, in the past. If you type the name, it doesn't
go.
Search. Yeah, no.
Okay, so now tasks.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, tasks. Okay, so we don't see the file
and
being deleted, available here.
Yeah, it is.
So it's kind of like it has been wiped from there. What if we check this I30?
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay.
Can we kind of look in there, see if there was... What was it called? Notepad, right?
Yeah, it was Notepad.
By the way, what we are doing now was not part of what we were planning on doing for the webinar, but it's always nice to kind of check other things. So it's not there, right?
If the file is deleted, can we see it or not? I'm trying to see.
I don't see Notepad.
This is the
OneDrive. OneDrive again. OneDrive. User. Sync something, whatever. Another thing. Yeah, not else. So it's probably is not there even, like it has been, as if it has been completely wiped. Okay, nice.
Okay, nice. So far these are like the main location. If there are any scheduled tasks we need to look for. However, another important location is the registry. So I'll leave Professor Ali to continue about that.
Okay. Thank you. So, by now we know how a scheduled task could be created. Professor Mariam already showed us how to do that using the command line, which is, by the way, probably mostly the most used way that threat actors might use, because they probably like have a command line access, and I'm not sure if they will be going to the GUI and doing that, but as a user you might be doing it. But anyway, we now saw how these could be done from the command line and also from the GUI. Okay, now and also we checked here about the logs and different logs, and we will be sharing, by the way, our presentation or a presentation which will have the links. But there is this website, so all of the resources that will be helpful to you, like it was helpful to us as well, we'll share those. So as you can see, we already checked 106, which was for task registration, and then I think you already checked the other one, right, which is the 4698. Yes. Did you check? Okay. Now, two things, by the way, to keep in mind about this is these need to be enabled, because by default on Windows they are not enabled. So object access on the logs is not on the task, is not enabled by default, and the object and also the logs of the scheduled task is also not enabled by default. So in those cases where, let's say, we have a system, or we have a node, like an endpoint within an environment that doesn't have those enabled. What should we do? And as you can see here, like you already did, you just deleted the file, and then or you deleted the entry, and now that task is gone. And that could be, by the way, done through the GUI, and also it could be done through the scheduled task command by just doing the delete operation, and then that's already gone. So what will happen in that case, if that's so are we like out of luck, or we can't investigate anything if that's the case? The answer is no. We still can use the Windows registry to look into the scheduled tasks. So if these are not there, we can now refer to like the Windows registry. So what I'm going to use Eric Zimmerman is Registry Explorer, which is a really great tool, by the way. If you haven't used Eric's tools, I would highly recommend you do that. Again, we will do some exploration over here. Okay, but then I will tell you where you can, if you want to kind of like look into a case where all of this has been applied, then I will show you where you can do that. So in this case, let's assume this is a live investigation. I'll go to File and then load. I can just go Live System, excuse me, and then go to Software. So let's open that. Okay, and now if we go to like the software Hive, by the way, which is being pulled, as you can see Windows System 32 config software. Again, we are doing this on a live system. So in your case, you will be going to File, Load Hive, and then you'll go to that path and load it, especially if you are investigating an offline case. Now, the good thing about Eric's tools is a lot of these kind of, let's say, techniques and methods that are being used by threat actors and users, etc., they have already been investigated, and a lot of them have already been bookmarked. So if we just go to bookmarks and then common, and then if I go down to task cache, okay, I can now see all of the tasks, and just go to the tree. I can see here all of the tasks that have been investigated. So by the way, I caught what you did. You deleted that task book. Now I can find it here. Mm-hmm. So this is, by the way, one of the good discoveries. Again, these webinars will be the reason why we are doing them is probably to do some tests live. We don't know everything. And as you can see here, now we can see when a task was deleted, it no longer showed up in the on the system. So when we went to the system, the directory, it was no longer there. But as you can see here, so system 32 tasks. So when we went here, the task was no longer there. But when we are looking at the Windows registry, we can see this entry has been deleted. Okay, and as you can see here, all of the details about it is still there. Like the GUID, this is an ID for the entry, it's still there. The CMD task that also Professor Mariam created is also here. So we can see it has a GUID. Okay, so this tree, okay, this tree is showing me all of the tasks that I have on the system. Now, if you go to tasks, by the way, Eric has created like a plugin. As you can see, this is a task. If you expand it, you can see like sub keys. Each sub key, by the way, is a GUID for a task. So if I just go back quickly again, CMD run. This is a scheduled task, and this scheduled task has an ID. This ID, as you can see, is this one. So if I, by the way, copy this and then go back to like the tasks, and maybe over here, if I quickly just put this, I can see that this is, by the way, if I open it, yep, if I open it, I can see the details about the scheduled task, as you can see here. Okay, and if you click, by the way, on the what the action is, so if you click here, you can see here that it's saying that cmd.exe is the thing that is going to be executed. All of these triggers and details, it's telling you how it's going to be triggered, how is it going to be used, etc. But again, the thing goes down to this task ID, excuse me. So if I go back again, scheduled tasks, and let me just quickly, again, the tree, I can see each one of these tasks, and I can see also the notepad. Let's actually check this one since we did do that. Let's see, will I still be able, so this one is deleted. I can see the GUID for it. Okay, so let me see if I can still go ahead and find like the entry for it in the tasks. Again, Eric has created a really cool plugin where all of these, by the way, instead of going into each one of them, okay, it's a lot of work, etc. If you just click on tasks, then Eric has this tool which is kind of pulling all of the details from each one of these, and you can see like when is it created, when did it last start, the last stop, the task status, all of this descriptions, all of this is, you can see it over here. So what that means is I can also probably search for the notepad one. Let's see. Yep, we can see the notepad. See, we can see it. And we can see the path is notepad 1, which is kind of like the name. When was it created? When did it last start? The action. So status 0 probably means deleted. And the author, I think this is the only thing it's pulling from here. But what we can do as well is go back to our entry here and then look at the task. This is great, by the way. I'm glad we did this. So if we go to actions, we can see the notepad.exe is also being used, and this is the action that will happen. And this is all of the details, like the date, the user that created it, the URI, about all of this. We can see all of this in here. Now, also in the registry, we can see that it has this cross on it, which is kind of, usually we see that on icons when it's referring to a file or a directory that has been deleted. So in this case, by the way, it's referring to a registry entry, key, value, whatever, being deleted. So we can see that this key and all of the subkeys in it has been deleted, okay? And as you can see here, even though it was deleted, we can still find it in there. And that's why sometimes we'll probably talk about that more in other webinars or in future sessions, videos, whatever. That's why sometimes I also like to refer to the Windows registry as like a file system, because you can see when we have a file system and we delete a file, the entry or that file is still on the disk as long as the entry of that file has not been overwritten. So we can see here as well that probably this entry is still there. So even if you created that task, you also deleted it, then we can still find it over here. Okay, and by the way, if you had the like the Windows event logs enabled, you can also look at the events and find it over there. I'm sure there will be, if we go back here, I'm sure there will be an entry saying when a task has been deleted. Yeah, that, see, so 141 is for task registration deleted. So if we look for 141, actually, let's go ahead and look for that quickly before we go to the ghost task. Oh, did you delete them?
It's no, it's in the.
Oh, in the operation one. Wait, yeah, let's go there.
And even if it's the task itself is deleted, we can see still the events for creation.
141. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So actually, we can see Notepad has been deleted. Okay. So I think this was really a great example that we kind of also showcased here. One of the things that we highly recommend, by the way, when you are especially learning, and as you can see, we are also learning with you guys, is I would always, especially if something is related to like logs and stuff like that, I would probably go ahead and delete those logs, so I can wipe them and have no logs there. So that way instead of looking at a lot of noise, I just want to focus on one for one, or the events which are really related to what I'm targeting and kind of trying to learn here. So it's always useful to, by the way, probably delete those logs and clear them up. So that way, when I'm doing a test, I know that that test is now going to be used for just focusing on my test instead of having a lot of noise, and then I need to filter between them. And sometimes you might not know that, is this event related or not related? It's also going to be probably like difficult at the beginning. Moving forward, probably it's fine, but at the beginning, I would prefer to do that. So before we go to the ghost task, let's go ahead. Let me unload this. So what did I do? Okay. Unload all these hives. We don't want them. So let's remove that. And I also want to clear the logs. So let me clear this. Yep, I don't want to save them. We don't care about this, by the way. And I cleared the filters. Yeah, the filters cleared. And let me go back here, security, and clear this as well. Okay. We only have one, by the way, which is probably the one that says the event has been cleared. Number of events. Why is it not showing up? Clear filter. Okay. Yeah, we only have one, which is saying someone has cleared the logs, but that's me, and we want that for our testing purposes. So that's fine. Now, if we go to the ghost task, which is this POC that we are going to be using. Now, ghost task, by the way, which is the other part of our webinar, ghost task was found in an investigation, and a lot of this has been talking about by Microsoft, by WithSecure, etc. But Chris created this kind of POC. So he created a ghost task tool that we can use to create these scheduled tasks, create these ghost scheduled tasks. Now, what this does is it will go and, as you saw when we were looking at the registry, when we created a task, the Windows system will go and create keys and subkeys and values for each one of those tasks. Like there will be an ID for the task, there will be an action for the task, a trigger, and all of those details. Now, when all of that gets registered as well, so we saw, just like Professor Mariam went over, we saw that once you register a task, it will be like in the security, it will show you that especially if auditing is enabled and logging is enabled, you'll see that a task has been registered, and you'll see a task has been created, and so on and so forth, which are these events over here. But with ghost task, what this does, it will go and again forge the creation of these Windows registry structures and keys and values without triggering any events. So that what that means, is if someone is just looking at the events, they won't find what's going on. Why? Because, this bypassed the those log creation details. So all of these events were bypassed. None of them was triggered. So the system did not trigger 4698, 106, etc. Why? Because they were created a little bit differently. So if someone was looking for those and didn't see them, they might think that, oh yeah, we don't have anything going on the system. But in reality, that's not true. We need to go ahead and look a little bit differently about this. So let's go ahead and kind of like create a task using ghost task. And as you can see here, by the way, it's easy to compile, so you can download the code. So we just downloaded the exe because, by the way, this is a VM for testing purposes. But if you are worried about that, or if you want to make sure that the exe is nothing in there or not backdoored, and let's say you don't trust the author, even though, again, thanks to him for this tool, that's up to you, depending on where you are going to test this. You can go ahead and read the code. So the code is already there, which is great. And then Chris also shows how you can go ahead and compile this executable and then use it the GhostTask.exe. Use it yourself. You can also see the usage over here. Plus, Chris has already created some examples. So you can see this one is to create a scheduled task. This one is to modify a scheduled task. And this one is also to create a scheduled task on a remote system. So for like lateral movement or whatever. So let's go ahead and run this. But before we do that, by the way, I want to make sure, I want to mention one thing. One is that in order to run scheduled task, we need system privileges. So assuming the threat actor has gained access to the system, and then the threat actor managed to escalate their privileges and gain system, that's when they can run scheduled task. Because if you try to run scheduled task on with admin, so as you can see here, this is admin. Let me, by the way, make sure I can, let me increase the font size. So at least it will be, I hope this is better for you now. So if we go to downloads, that's where we use scheduled task. As you can see here, if we say --help.
So this is only for GhostTask.
Yeah, this is now GhostTask, not scheduled. Yeah, not a regular task. So if we want to use that, we will do, as you can see, add. So GhostTask, add, and then the task name, we can give it a name. So we can say webinar, whatever. And then the next thing is the program that we want to run. So maybe cmd.exe. And then if we, as you can see, I'm just following, by the way, these. And then after that, if we want to kind of like do something with that, so cmd.exe, and I want to, for example, run Notepad with it. So let's do that. So this is the arguments. And then the username, we can do localhost, and then IE user, which is the username of this on the system. Okay. And then the schedule type, we can do second, daily, weekly, and log on. So let's just do daily. That's just, again, it's just for testing purposes. And then after that, we can do, so we did that, schedule type, daily. Okay, now it will ask us for the time. So let's say, what time is it now? It's let's do at 3. So this is 12. Let's do 41, and then so 12:41, and then what else do we need? Daily. Today is Friday, so we can do Friday. Okay. You can also do, by the way, Monday, but actually we did daily, so it's going to run daily. So if I do this, by the way, unknown command webinar, task name. Wait, what did I do? So task name, demo, add, yeah, webinar. I think, by the way, it's not running because at the end we don't have the privileges to do this. But let me double check again that I didn't do anything wrong over here. GhostTask, add webinar, CND daily localhost. Yeah, this should be. I can also remove this. Still telling add webinar. Oh, I know, no. I know what I did wrong. Okay, wait. I forgot to add, by the way, at the beginning, as you can see, GhostTask, we need the where are we running this, because it can be run remote. So let me just localhost. And then, yeah, now, so as you can see, now it says we can't do this because you have to run it as system. So let me just then go again. What I'm going to do, we already have system here. So, and let me bring this, increase the font size. I assume you can also see this. So GhostTask, and then again, --help, just so in case I forget how to do this again. So localhost, and then the operation is add, and then the task name is webinar, and then the program is CMD. Let me put it between double quotes. And then the I'm gonna run through this notepad.exe, for example, So I pass the arguments. The username is local host/IE user. Okay, and then the schedule type is going to be daily. Okay, and then the time and seconds is going to be 12. Let's do 43 because we might need that time. And since we did daily, this should work now. Target user not found. What did I do? Local host IE. Why is this not working? I'll just do this. Okay, so it worked now. Okay, so as you can see what it did, it went ahead and created registry entries in each one of these locations. So as you can see, like the ID, the descriptor, the author, the path, the URI, date, all of these have been forged and added to the system without generating any event logs. So let's go back, by the way, to our Windows event. So if we go back here, refresh. So security, again, I'm doing refresh. There is no filtering, and as you can see, nothing is there. We found nothing in the event over here, and if we go, like, no task has been, no event has been generated. If we go to operational and refresh, as you can see, 0. So if someone is depending on these let's say events to show up because a task has been scheduled, they won't show up, and that means if I'm depending completely on this, I might be fooled. If I'm depending on the logs, I might be fooled because probably someone has already created a task using a tool like GhostTask. Now, GhostTask is, again, a POC, but think of it like a threat actor has their own tool to do this, or it's built in within their, let's say, own malware, because the code is there. Someone can kind of really just go copy that code and add it to their own malware and use it. You won't find it in here. So as you can see, there's nothing there. Let's go also to look at the scheduled task where Professor Mariam was creating all of the mess. As you can see, again, nothing here. Refresh forever, you won't find anything. Why? Because it hasn't been created this way. Let's also go and check the directory. So again, if we go here, so let me maximize this. We don't even see here a file referring to our webinar task, right? We don't see a file referring to our webinar task, but I can see the file that you created. I can see that over here. I'm not going to update now. No, not now. We don't want to do the update now. We can see that is over here, the one that you're running your CMD or whatever. But in our case, we can't see it over there. And by the way, this CMD has now been triggered. As you can see, this has been started. I did not start this CMD. The only CMD I had was this one. But the ghost task that we created has started at 12:43. Now, what that means is back to the Windows registry. So we need to go again, assuming you have a case. If it's a live system, you're going to go here and live. But if it's an offline system, you'll just go and pull those registry entries. So if we go to software again, load it. Okay. And now if we go to bookmarks, task, cache, expand, and if we go to tree, now if we go to tree, we can see CMD run, we can see the notepad that we did previously, and we can also, we don't see the webinar one over here. Wait. Probably, by the way, it has not been synchronized yet. That's one of the things I always seem to find in cases where synchronization has not happened. But let's, by the way, search over here first. Let me search, excuse me, webinar. Okay, so what I'm going to do, by the way, this usually happens when in scenarios where like the Windows registry still has those events cached on the disk, sorry, on memory, and it has not been reflected back to disk. So one way to kind of really work around this is to go ahead, like we can use the sync command. I usually do that. Sometimes it might work. And sync is, by the way, part of like, I know you might say, how are you running it from here? Because I have the sysinternal tools part of my, so tools, sysinternals, I have them part in my path, so I can run them from anywhere. Let me check again, by the way, this time, and see if it has been synchronized. If not, then what I will do is I'll just really power off the system and reboot it. Let's see. Now, let me load again, software. Now, while this is, by the way, loading, what I can tell you is if you want to investigate a case where scheduled task has been used, by the way, if you go to Cyber5W, the Academy, and then from the Academy, go to case studies and workshops, okay? If you go to this, it's on the second page. It's not on the first page, so please go to the second page. It's called Internal Investigation. It's free, by the way. You can download this. And in the past, we, because this is it has a lot of, I would say, we covered a lot of techniques and methods in this case. So one of them was here to do some investigation on it. So you can go and check this video. We will add today's recording to this, so that way you can also come back and like do the investigation on like the GhostTask part, because GhostTask has been applied in here. And again, this is free. You can just go ahead and enroll in it. You might see, excuse me, if you enroll in this, by the way, you'll get access to like the evidence, and you can use it for free. But the pay what you can part, by the way, here, it will bring you to our online environment, the labs. And over here, if you like want to use an environment online, like let's say you don't have your own environment, you can then pay a fee to do that. But again, if you don't want to pay, you just want to access the material, then you can put this 0, by the way, and get enrollment into the course and access the material. You don't need to pay unless, like, for example, it's really up to you. If you want to support us and pay, do that. If you don't, and you just want to, or you can't afford it as well, you can freely download all of the material that you can use from here. Okay, so it is free. This is only paying if you want that online VM. Okay, now again, we loaded this into Registry Explorer, and let me go back again. I hope not this one. I hope this time we have it in there, because I really want to show it to you. And 3. Yep, here it is, webinar. So again, it was just a sync thing. And always, by the way, I highly recommend when you are doing your tests, okay, when you are doing your tests, I highly recommend that using sync. Use sync, because it always, especially if something is related to like the memory, and it's kind of like written in memory and it hasn't been reflected back to your disk. This way, you probably don't need to power off the VM, but sometimes you might need to do that. So it's just kind of like check first with sync. If it works, great. If it doesn't, power off, then power on again, because that way you can kind of guarantee that what is in memory has now needs to be flushed back and written to disk. So that way you can guarantee it is on disk now. So again, as you can see here, we can find now the webinar is there. So we did not, you might say, oh, so then it might be also in here now. No, if I refresh here forever, by the way, we won't find it. And the same thing goes for like the events. We won't find the event in here. This is just telling us the task has been run. And that's, by the way, the task that Miriam created, by the way. Okay, these are, as you can see, the CMD run. These were the tasks that I didn't do. These were the tasks that you created, not me. Same thing will go to the security. Again, if you refresh forever, you won't find them in here, okay? But we can now see them in the Windows registry. So we can see it's in webinar, and we can see the ID. So what I can do now is I can take the ID, copy it, and I can now go to the tasks over here, and I can kind of search for it and go to the tasks. And now in here, I can see that we have the task. The author is IE user. That was the real user behind it, or the user that, the user that was configured to run this task. Okay, and then if we go to actions, we can see that the action over here is to run cmd.exe and execute Notepad. So actually, I thought actually, by the way, I was running CMD. I was wrong. So I was running Notepad, and actually Notepad did start in here. Okay, you can see Notepad over here. So again, even if like the file is not there, so the file is not on disk, as we saw here, right? Windows, and then system 32, and then tasks. So even if the file is not there, when we don't see the file in here, okay, we don't see an entry in scheduled tasks, we can still, and we didn't see any events being triggered over here, by the way. Nothing wrong with this. It's just that the way this method works is kind of bypassing the Windows event log and all of that, so we can't see it in there. But looking at the Windows registry, we were able to find, let me just remove this again. We were able to find the task name, scroll down over here, find the task in the tree. We found the entry, which was kind of weird, by the way, right? It was weird because we didn't see it in like the events. We didn't see it on disk. So why is this there but not on disk, not in events? We can come here, take this ID, and then search for this ID within the events, the tasks, sorry. So if we search for it over here, we can also do that, by the way. We can now see the entry over here, and we know that there is a scheduled task on the system, okay? So
can we have time for questions?
Yeah.
Now we have a few questions.
Okay.
So one question is about how can I determine if a scheduled task was used to load malicious payload in Windows?
Can you let me just repeat again? How can I determine if a scheduled task was used to load malicious payloads in a Windows environment? So focus on like the creation of the task and then the triggering of it. That way you can see what is it triggering. And then again, once you come, like for example, as we saw here, let me bring my cursor back. And if I remove this, we can see that this plugin is pulling like all of the details of the tasks that we have on the system. So probably focus on that, like the registration, etc., and then try to correlating it with any weird activity that is happening on your system. So that was a good question.
Another one is, how can I differentiate between a legitimate scheduled task and one that have been created by an attacker in the system?
So there are a couple of things, but
it's not straightforward.
Yeah, it's not straightforward. By the way, it's a good question. So let me just repeat the question so everyone can or can you repeat the question, please?
So how can I differentiate between a legitimate scheduled task and one that have been created by an attacker?
Great question. So let's look at it like this. One is you need to know what tasks are you normally running on your system. So once you know what is normally running on your system, then anything outside of that should be something I would say suspicious and needs to be checked and investigated. And then also looking at like activity that is happening around that. And especially, by the way, if it's running, let's say, so for example, let's say you have a task which looks familiar to you, but it's running an exe from an familiar or weird location. So let's say the task name is like, let's say Google update. You might have that, maybe. And that might look like that's a legitimate task because it's like an entry to update my Google browser or whatever. But if you look at the trigger and what it's triggering, it might be triggering, let's say, an executable from, let's say, C users public or C Windows temp. That should be suspicious and should be investigated.
That is one about the ghost tasks.
Can GhostTask interact with other malware components, or do they typically run standalone? So I'm not sure what that means, by the way. You can run GhostTask through a malware, because like I said, the code is there.
Can it be used to run another executable, for example, at a specific time?
Yeah, you can use it to configure another system, definitely. But I mean, even the code. So Chris has the code here. So what is gonna prevent me from taking this and putting it in my malware and then using it? And maybe what I can do is, instead of I probably, what I would do is have everything be configured. So it's not going to be like a command that you go and run. No, I will have in my code that I want this task to run daily at a specific time and do some specific activity. So I can do that and have it hard coded or configured within my code.
I think we're good now. We have only 2 minutes.
Is there any, by the way, any other question that we can answer here? Okay. So if there is no questions, I really hope this session was useful to you. The session is already recorded. We will upload the recording to our YouTube channel, and then the recording will be also attached to this. So if you come to this case study, by the way, you will have the links to the recording, so that way you can have them all in one place. And again, if you enroll in this is free. You don't need to pay anything. You can download the data set, and then this is not just, by the way, this data set is a big data set or a big investigation. You can use it to kind of learn a lot about Windows investigations. This was just one thing, but there's definitely a lot of other that you can do. Next month, hopefully, we are planning on going back to our Wednesday. So the plan is to go back to first Wednesday. Just a reminder, it's the first Wednesday every month at noon, exactly noon Eastern time. So while you're grabbing lunch, you can just sit and listen to us if you want, or maybe just come say hi, whatever. The recordings, we'll try to make sure we do record these and have them available. This month was an exception just because the 1st of July, the first Wednesday was January 1st, and probably a lot of you guys were celebrating, so we didn't want to spoil your celebrations and having to sit and listen to us. So I hope wishing you all a good new year and successful one, and we'll see you next month. Thank you and have a good day from me.
Thank you, everyone.